First and foremost, thank you guys for coming on. I'm really excited to talk some baseball with you. Bod, you and I have known each other quite a little while now. Anthony and Logan, I'm excited to just expand my circle, expand my knowledge just by talking to you guys today, and listening to some of the things that you guys do at your program, some of the experiences that you've had. Just looking forward to getting better out here today. So we're basically, how this is going to work is we're going to run through a couple different topics, and don't feel like you're limited to that topic either. You could take it and run with it in whatever direction you kind of want to go. And basically we'll just have one guy at a time talking. Once that person's done, we'll kind of move on. And before we go on to the next topic, if you have anything to add to kind of go into conversation, dive a little bit deeper, we can do that kind of at that point there. But first and foremost, let's go around, just introduce ourselves real quick. Anthony, you want to start us?
Yes, sir. Anthony Marks, assistant coach at Gardner Webb University.
Eric?
Eric Hirschbein-Bodnar, assistant coach at Bryant University.
Logan?
Yeah, Logan Dalton, assistant coach, Monmouth University.
Awesome. My name is Matt Marsh, and I'm an assistant baseball coach down at UMBC, formerly at the University of Maine the last 3 years. Excited to get going down there, but let's jump into it. Quarantine changed a lot of things going on. Some for good, some for bad, but there's definitely a lot of good that could still come out of every single situation, right? What are some ways that it's changed the way you communicate with your team? And this could be from a player development standpoint, and this could just be communication overall. What are some ways that the quarantine has changed that? And kind of as things return back to normal, what are some things that you'd still like to do that you've kind of learned now that you've kind of been through this type of situation? Anthony, you want to start us?
Yeah, I mean, right, what we're doing right now, getting on a Zoom and checking in on our guys. Just kind of one, just saying hello, telling them that we miss them, and then the other one kind of getting a head start on some things that so we call it a dog law, some things we might be getting into next year to kind of get them a grasp, especially the incoming guys, just so they have a feel of what's going on. But Zoom, I think the biggest one for me is what I've learned is just kind of building relationships during this time. And that's something that I'm definitely going to take with me as I keep moving on in my coaching career is finding the importance of the relationships that we're building and how much it means to those guys, and just checking up on them, whether it's through phone call, text message, anything like that. But just hit them up on the IG, or they like social media, whatever you can. Giving them a shout out, but definitely just the relationships and keeping that strong, because I think that builds a little trust in there too. And when your players trust you, I think you get the most out of them, and I think it's a huge piece.
Absolutely agree. I love it. Eric, what do you got?
So I think that, just like Anthony, for us at Bryant, we had a whole new coaching staff. So have a new culture and a new kind of philosophy to how our game plan was. And it took us a while for us to kind of fail to succeed. And if you look at, how we started versus how we played in our last two games, against Western Carolina, we kind of saw things of how we want to implement as a staff come to fruition. We, especially base running wise and the little things we try to implement all year. So guys being able to look back and kind of see everything come to fruition and see what we were grinding for and working for all year, then to realize next fall, obviously, guys are hungrier, guys know what we expect, guys know the coaching staff and how our personalities are and how our work ethic is and our approach, and now they're able to kind of realize what we expect, and we can come into the fall and hit the ground running. But from an individual coaching standpoint, like Coach Mark said, getting to know guys on a personal level, kind of trying to get the feel and know what guys are about and how you need to push them, how you need to work with them, this and that. As the catching coach, I work with some of our catchers, and especially, some of the stuff that people are putting out there, professional guys, what they're doing during this quarantine. At the end of the day, it's not just college guys. We got pro guys that are they're in the same boat we are. They can't work out of their facilities. They work down their backyards. They're working out at fields across the country. And whatever drills they're doing at the big league level. So we can take that and be a lot of self-reflect on what guys struggled with this year. They're able to look back now and realize, instead of sitting around here, I can self-reflect, see what I need to work on, then kind of cross-reference, whether it's reading, whether it's looking at different strength and conditioning stuff, whether it's looking at different stretches. They have time to really fine-tune their craft and their game. And I think especially behind the plate, that's one thing that guys can really, really get, that intellectual knowledge about. One thing we really talked about, as a staff really is just the mental side. We can take this time where we can't get that much stronger. We can't get, that many reps, but we can take time out of the day and get better mentally. Read mental books, do some breathing exercises, do some yoga to really calm our bodies and our minds down when things are at their, most stressful time, the biggest situation.
Awesome. I love it.
That
Love
was
it.
good
Logan,
stuff.
what do you got to kind of bring us home on that?
So yeah, all those guys, we're kind of doing the same thing. You talk about building relationships. Marks and Bod did the same thing. I'm coming from the South all the way to New Jersey, right? So I had that short amount of time in the fall to really get to know our guys. And, just like you guys, when they told us it was over for this season, that was, although it hurt, that was a prime opportunity for me to take a step back and really understand these guys off the field. And I think, when you're building that foundation, that's by far the most important thing is if you can when you talk about development and things like that, guys have to trust you. They have to respect you, really understand what relationships and building a program is about. So for me, that's the most important thing right now. And just talking to guys on a more of a relationship, personal level. People are going through some tough times right now. So maybe just having somebody listen to you is the best development process you can do.
Absolutely. And I love everything that you guys are saying, and kind of coming from the same angle with that is, in order for a player to be confident, he's got to be comfortable first, right? And Coach Marks, you were talking about building trust, and we're all kind of hitting on that same angle of getting to know, taking this added time to get to know our guys even further, which is crazy because we're all remote right now. We're not next to each other, but we're making that effort to kind of get to know each other. And I think that's something that sticks with me too is the times that we are apart, now we have these different tools at our disposal to still get to know our guys further over breaks, to still kind of communicate with our guys. And it's not only with our own guys, but also in recruiting too, right? Like we had to get a little bit creative with facilities videos. You have to get a little bit creative with how you communicate, when you're not able to see them face to face in person. So this situation, as many bad things have gone on, there's a whole lot of good that's kind of come out of it. And Bod, you're talking about going through last season, and I love that. Like we had such a, you can look at it either way, but small sample size, 13 games, 12, 13 games, whatever it was, very digestible to go through. You can go through as many plays as you want, real easy for whatever position that you coach. And I think that that's a great thing to kind of enhance player development and kind of go forward and have an easy reference point to talk about. Now, one thing that we did at Maine, and we also do now UMBC too, is we do classrooms each week, and we do them in person, once a week prior to one of our practices and talking about some different things. But we've kept those kind of going. Each week we do an infield classroom, we do a catching classroom, just kind of talk about. So one thing that I've really found that's kind of changed I'm forced to have all these different PowerPoints and all these slides and all these videos, stored now on my computer. That we can kind of go back to over time, which from an organizational standpoint, like we have all the structure now, which I think is a really good thing. And our next topic, kind of segueing on, it seems like we've hit on this a lot, but if you have anything to add to it as far as like a tactic that you use in this current situation to bring a team together in the future, please go ahead and mention that if you have anything to add to that, because it seems like we're already kind of talking about that, using video conferences and things like that. Anybody have anything?
Yeah, I think it's really cool that, when you bring guys together, like in Zoom calls and all that, just to check in and see how guys are doing, what, in the classroom, like in their own personal lives, or as a team. We do like pitching Zooms, and we'll do like positional player Zooms. But the thing that I like is sometimes guys will read an article or they'll see a video and like this really explained, like I was able to finally see something I've been working on or feel something I've been feeling, or, hey, this helped me control my heart rate on the mound. This helped me, grips, whatever it may be. Right now with this, downtime, and a lot of, like we said before, the big leaguers and the best of the best, even Hall of Famers, doing more webinars, doing more, displaying and showing. Like I love with the catchers, like I'll watch a guy like Wilson Contreras and like see him in game, and then see a pro coach breaking him down I can pinpoint one or two things out of that video that I'm trying to relay to my catcher and be like, look, this is a pro doing, this is how it should look versus here's a screenshot of you doing it. Like, do you see the difference? Like, and then all of a sudden it clicks in their head that that's the adjustment they have to make. But what I love is a peer review where guys can sit there and be like, hey, this worked for me. And the next thing you know, a teammate, because I think obviously it's a different coach to player, player to player. Sometimes, I always say that, especially in this game and coaching, the game's been around for 150 years. We're not reinventing the game here. What our job is to do about coaching is trying to find a way to say the same thing 10 different ways, because what might stick with you, Matt, will stick differently with Anthony. Or we're trying to get the same message across. So sometimes when players, peer review and work together in that sense, you get the best, outcome and the best, pushing through that adversity and that challenge. And then as a coach, you're sitting there and you love when players are coaching each other. That means you're doing a good job putting the philosophy in play and letting them kind of self-reflect among each other.
Absolutely. And I think that if, you teach something to somebody else, you learn it better yourself, right? And, that's when I feel like that you've done a pretty good job as a coach is when, your players are taking that initiative to say, hey, I understand something that, Coach Marks is saying, Coach Dalton's saying, Coach Bodnar saying, and I'm going to now relay this to help my team. And from a cultural standpoint, now that they're thinking about more than themselves. They're thinking about the team. They're thinking about the team outcome. I love that.
Thinking about the guy next to him, and that's something that we preach. The guy next to you is more important than yourself. And another thing that we're kind of trying to do is within our strength coach and some lift programs that he gives them, just body weight stuff, is really making them challenge themselves too, though. Hey, and hey, we're not going to – we give you a sheet, you grade on how you do it. We're not asking you to send it to us, but just know that everyone else is doing it. And again, just for the guy next to you, if you want him to be successful, you got to take care of what you have to. You got to take care of yourself for the team. So challenging themselves and also really, I think, helps bring something to the table, and that's something we do. We're going to bring more into the fall. Challenge the guys. We're looking for guys that are self-motivated and really want to get up and compete and be the best version of themselves. That's what we're looking for.
Coach, that brings up a great point. I think we've all in our careers have used the term accountability, right? We continuously use that with our players. There's no more, than being accountable than right now. You have to wake up, you have to do it yourself. You have to get on, your classes online. I couldn't even imagine that, when I was in school, and now these guys are implementing, ball and school and trying to find time or some place to get a lift in. And you really find out as coaches, what are these guys, which one of these guys are here for the greater good for the team. Right. So, that's been, and fortunately for us, we've been very impressed with our group, and, it's been fun to see too. It's a tough time, but it's been fun to see these guys really rally around each other and be accountable for one another.
And I think a great thing about that now too is, in the past, at least in my experiences, maybe you guys might agree or whatnot, but you have these new guys that are coming in, right? The class of 2020. And a lot of times, we're talking to them on the phone after they sign their NLI, and it's more on a one-on-one basis. Maybe we have a group text going with them, kind of keeping them informed as to what's going on. But now they're kind of getting to an experience where they're getting thrown right into it right away. And not only are they getting to know their teammates, which is definitely going to help with that transition period as an incoming freshman, feeling comfortable around those guys, but they're getting information and they're getting material and they're getting that early on, which I think is a really good thing for these guys. From a recruiting standpoint, being able to be so much more thorough now, we have all this time between now and whenever the dead period keeps getting extended to, I don't know, before we're able to get out and go see him play. There's so much time now to kind of create those relationships and do character checks. And instead of just seeing a guy at an event one day and you like him, you call around a couple times, and then you feel like I got to move because if I don't move, somebody else is going to move. I'm not saying that goes for every single guy, but, I don't feel like I'm alone in that. Sometimes that happens. But now we have an opportunity to get a better feel for who these guys are coming in and who these guys are that we're actually looking at too. Do you guys have anything to add to that?
Well, just to add to that, I think vice versa, right? You got guys you got high school kids and families kind of taking a leap of faith right now, right? So, you know, when you have coaches like yourself and Anthony and Bod, you know, talking to these kids on a daily basis, getting them a little bit more comfortable, and you're really building that personal relationship, it helps moving forward. Instead, like you said, you know, a lot of times in the summer when you're late to the party, it can be kind of rushed and, you know, so some cold feet there a little bit. Now you're getting a solid foundation to keep moving forward.
Absolutely. Switching gears, you know, kind of talking about things that we do on a development standpoint for a player off the field. So, you know, this could be things along the lines of, you know, digital coaching. This could be things along the lines of just anything that you've done with your guys off the field that you feel has helped them become a better player or a better person, or anything along those lines on the field. Let's start with you, Bod. What do you got for us?
I think that, like we talked about earlier, it's breaking them down. Like, I'm a huge believer fundamentally building from the ground up and like taking parts of your body out of the equation. Like catching wise, like we'll work, you know, our hands, and even like our transfers will work without our feet, we'll work without our shoulders, and then add our feet and then add our shoulders. But breaking it down to getting, you know, I'm a huge believer in, like, I have a bunch of quotes I believe in, obviously I think you guys know that, but one of them is, you know, when you focus on the finer details, the big picture paints itself. So when guys realize that instead of worrying about, you know, the final result and worrying and then focusing on the process over the, you know, the destination, they're able to really, you know, finite and take care of the small details in their game. And whether it's mentally, whether it's like, you know, understanding what we're doing as, you know, a game plan, whether it's understanding, like, for especially like when I work with the catchers, I want them to know the pitchers they're working with. Like, their bullpens aren't just to catch a bullpen. Like, I tell them all the time, you're not going there just to catch a bullpen and, you know, do it for the team and, you know, do that's your indie work. Like, no, I want you to listen to the adjustments that, you know, our pitching coach is working with those pitchers, because in game, you know, pitchers are stressed out of their mind. They're trying to control the running game, keep us in the game, make a perfect pitch at times. And they need you to be there to, you know, pump them up, to calm them down, to take that mound visit, to relax them. But when we're yelling stuff in the dugout as coaches, them being able to reflect and reiterate that on the field in a simpler, more calm sense of a teammate, that's stuff that they need to focus on in the bullpens, in the winter, in the preseason, and get ready so that when we're in game, you're not only their teammate, but you're also a leader in the fact that you can help them make that adjustment. So I think that when you're, especially in my focus of catching, it's breaking it down fundamentally, helping them understand the game mentally, and then them being able to slow the game down and be a leader and the quarterback on the field. But that all is done off the field in their mental preparation and their pregame, you know, preparation every single day.
Love it. Logan, what do you got on that?
Yeah, I mean, you use the word, you know, kind of just simple fundamentals, right? I mean, I have to give credit. Our you know, Chris Colazzo, our head assistant recruit coordinator, has done a fantastic job, you know, encouraging our guys to come up with different unique ideas to get better, whether it be hitting. You know, the old school one is taking peas and taking a stick and swinging it. But in particular with the position that I coach, you know, I encourage our guys to be, I'm an outfield coach, so I encourage our guys to be as athletic as possible. You know, Bob talks about the mental part of the game. Well, that transfers to the outfield too. You know, being a step ahead of where the ball is going to go will make you a great outfielder. But, you know, certain, you know, just having quick hips, things, being athletic, doing things like that. You know, not reinventing the wheel, as you guys say. You know, just you know, doing something, getting out there, being active. And completing your day. You know, I think that's one of the things that we've talked about more than anything, is having a complete day, laying in bed till noon ain't gonna do it. So being able to get these guys up and moving and be proud of something that they did that day would be one of the most important things that we can do. That's
great stuff. Anthony, what do you got to bring us home?
So I'm an outfield guy too, but I think really developing guys off the field is just, hey, letting them know when they come into the office, when they come to the field, as a coaching staff, our doors are always open, making them feel comfortable that we are going to help them make adjustments and being able to do some things for them and let them know, hey, we're here for you. I mean, like you said, back to the kind of the beginning, that bond, the trust, the comfort, being able to be comfortable around your coaches and not afraid of them. Like, oh, I don't want to ask a question, or I don't want to ask coach to break down some video with me, this or that. Like, we want our guys to know that we're here for them and they can come talk to us for anything they need. And I think it's crazy right now, but I think one thing I've always preached is like being a student of the game, watch college baseball, watch major league games, and put yourself in that position and in the position that you play in other positions. Watch where guys move around the field in different counts and late in the game, early in the game. Where's the baseball game? That's one thing, like Coach Dalton saying, in the outfield, I'll tell our guys, hey, where's the outfield throwing the ball in different situations in the game? Like, hey, it was one in the postseason last year where the dude for the Brewers let the ball get by him or something and turned into a triple, and they scored the run and said, hey, keep baseball in front. They tie it, and we try and win it in the bottom half. Or it was some scenario like that. But being a student in the game and really putting yourself in the shoes and watching the game, I think that's a great way to develop off the field, if not the best, in my opinion.
No, I totally agree. And I think it's, just as important sometimes too. Obviously, great importance of watching other people play, watching some of the best in the game, best in the world play the game. But also watching yourself too, right? For both better and worse. I think it's so common that we, as a player, you want to jump to the things that you didn't do well and, try and fix those things up right away, but also watching the things that you did do well and learn how you can repeat them too, right? So I worked with our outfielders last year, and now I'm kind of transitioning to a little bit more of a comfortable role for myself and working with our infielders down here at UMBC. But, being able to show the guys like, hey, this is something that we teach. This is something that we do on the field. And here are some examples of it. Here are some examples of you having success, or even just from we were doing it for visualization up at Maine, showing them hit doubles in the gap, showing them get a bunt down for the team, showing them hitting a home run, showing them, and then after showing them their successes, saying, what do these things have in common? You were on time for that pitch. This is what you did. Your gather looked like this. You could go mechanical. You could go pitch selection. You could go whatever it might be that those successes kind of had in common. But just kind of building up that confidence, I think, is first and foremost like a huge thing for these guys if they want to develop. Without that sense of comfort and that level of confidence, like nothing else really matters.
Yeah.
And I really think that also, in addition to that, like guys, like the best of the best understand like what the word process really means. And like I'm a huge proponent of that. And when you see guys with success, like you talk about, it's their process. It's them on deck, them getting in the box, them hunting a certain pitch, them being on time. That all goes back to how they prepare, before the season. Even in the winter when it's 30 degrees out, we're inside and we're trying to find ways to make it game-like, but it's putting them in a game-like situation from the minute they walk into practice. It's making sure mentally they understand the process. Like even when we're going through drills, our lead-up drills, our hand drills, our throwing progression, it's all part of a process so that when they get in the game, when they follow their process to a T, whether it's being on time with their, with their ready position at an infield position, making sure they're on time with the pitch, that they get a beat on that ball. It's all, when they make a great play up the middle and you look back on a film, it's like, why'd you do that? You were on time here, where when they don't get to a ball and they don't make a play or they make an error, you can go back and look through that video and be like, you didn't do this right in your process. You tried to rush this instead of trusting your feet, trusting your hands, then keeping your body moving to make a good throw and letting your first baseman make a play. It's when you rush through those steps that you end up, not being successful at the end of the day. So guys understanding what their process is individually leads them to that success, and them understanding that mentally, I think that's a big thing that you see as a progression with underclassmen as they mature to an upperclassman player.
Anybody have anything to add to that? That was good stuff, Bob.
That was good.
Coach, you talk about, having confidence, and I think that's going to be one of the delicate areas when we get back, right? A lot of guys, they go to summer ball and they ball out and they come back confident, and you just see a player. So being able to show those guys, their successes, just like you said, is going to be critical in the fact that, if we want this guy to keep progressing and keep developing like we know he can, it's going to be critical. Them seeing that success that they've had previously and repeating it and knowing that they can repeat it is most important, probably.
I love it. Anthony, you got anything?
I think that you guys kind of hit the nail on the head there. I mean, I know one thing that you guys are saying, confidence and all that, but we're also, these guys are they're getting away from competition right now. I mean, I think that's a huge piece to it too. And guys that want to compete. So, I mean, as soon as we can kind of like you said, compete against themselves when giving them a checklist or trying to put them in different situations as soon as they get back to get familiar with competing. Because again, you got to be confident and comfortable, and you got to have a willingness to compete. But you got to practice like anything else. You got to compete on a regular basis to have that confidence in it. So I mean, it's kind of trying to get these guys to want to compete and want to win and things like that.
I think that's a really good point. I mean, the idea of providing, these body weight lifts, that we were talking about before, I think that's a fantastic idea. And, whether they're, actually reporting it, not whatever it might be, the fact that they can be holding each other accountable and competing through that. There's not many competitive environments right now that they can kind of dive into. So anything that they can do right now to compete is invaluable, I think. Now let's kind of move on here to our next topic, and we've kind of hit on this a lot already. But let's talk about some different ways that you feel is a great way to bring a team together. And I think this is going to be really important when we kind of go back in September or late August, and we got this group of guys, and at least they've talked to each other a little bit. But what are some different ways that you feel is important to kind of bring these guys together? Logan, you want to start us with this one?
Yeah, that's going to be one of those copycat things, right? I mean, I think we're all going to be talking to each other and figuring out the best ways for our group. But for me, I think it's taking the time. When we get back to baseball, there's going to be a lot of us impatient, right? We want to take the baseball and put it in our hand and get going, which is great. But I think when you're talking about bringing a team together and getting them closer, take time. Take time and understand what these guys' individual processes were during this crazy time, and figure out how you can help them. And each guy is different, so each guy can share their experiences and just being together. I think that's kind of one of the things that Coach Ehalt, our head coach in Monmouth, has been doing now is making sure that we're together. We talk about family, so bad times, good times, we're all together. We're one family, so making those guys feel comfortable in that aspect.
Love it.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. I agree with that in the fact that, family's big, and especially for us, new coaching staff, none of us have coached together before. My head coach coming from, Central Florida up to Rhode Island, relocating his family is a huge part of our family. Our coaches, like us being, going to our guys our first, fall and saying, look, this is your program. We're coming into your program. You've had success. We're just telling you, let's work together and find a common ground. And the guys welcomed us in with open arms. They started, what we implemented, they took off with running, and we had a great year when it came to what we came together as a family and started to believe in each other. And you saw that in the last 2 games of our season. We didn't start off that hot playing tough competition, but it came together at the end of the year. And I really think that something I'll never forget is driving across North Carolina from Western Carolina to play NC Central when everyone's season started to get cut. And we're thinking about what's going to happen with the seniors, what's going to happen with our program, what's going to happen with our season. And you could just see guys coming together and guys, feeling for each other and talking to each other and really, get that sense of unity and bond. And even, we got back to the locker room, the next day after driving 16 hours back to Rhode Island, talking to each other and we're all in this together. We're going to help each other out, whatever it means. We're going to be there for each other's families. And I really think that coming back together and practice in the fall, it's for all of us in college baseball. I think it's going to be the most strongest unified group, whether it's competing against you, on Saturday, or it's, competing all fall against each other toward a common goal. And I'll say, what I thought brought us together this year as a team was we challenged our guys with what we wanted to implement, things that they were not strong at, whether it was bunting or whether it was whatever it may be, and made a competition made a game put them in stressful situations. And when you saw guys that weren't strong at a certain aspect of the game take the time to prepare, and we put them in that competition setting, they were able to succeed. You saw everyone else pulling for each other. And then at the end of practice, that we were trying to make each other better and come together as a family, so that when that moment happens and it's, the 9th inning and we need a sack bunt, or it's, someone to make a play or someone to make a pitch, you have 42 guys that are pulling for you and everyone's pulling the rope together. And that, I think, was a huge thing that we did this year, was make it tough competitive-wise, tough mentally, pushing these guys. And I'm sure you all see it when you guys do your end of fall, lifting competitions and stuff like that, guys pushing themselves physically, mentally, emotionally, and then next thing you know, you see your biggest gains and you see your biggest, unified group, and then you see that translation onto the field, a couple months later. And it all started from those gritty times that no one's watching, that it's late at night, that, guys are failing. And like my biggest thing that I love as a coach is I want to work with guys more that are failing and struggling and help them understand that it's part of the process and it's okay. It's not the end of the world. And then they start to realize what they need to do to make adjustments. And then seeing them succeed later on in the season and knowing it took 4 months instead of other guys, it took 3 weeks. But that process and them understanding that is what they need to do to get that through that biggest hurdle. And guys love it. That's what brings teams together, in my opinion, is that adversity and that grit to push through.
Great. Anthony, what
That's
do you got?
good stuff, man. Good stuff. And just like both of them said, I mean, I love the family and the togetherness vibe and kind of something that we use in our program, I mean, is love. And it starts with the coaching staff. I mean, we love being around each other. We love coming to work every single day. And I think when we start getting that to funnel through the locker room, those guys start loving to be around each other. They love taking the field. They love hanging out. They love suiting up for practice. Then the game becomes easy. So getting them to love what they do and I think, again, it comes from we make sure they know that we love them, we're here for them. And then they know then we know they love us too. So, I mean, there's that communication where, it's open communication. And we think that's almost the best way to kind of really get them together and as a team and a staff and everyone as one big unit to come together, where we got a leadership council of 8 guys that the team picks who they think the captains are. And, hey, once a week we meet with those 8 guys and we give them a voice, let them know that, hey, like, we're here for you as well. You let us know. Coach Chesser's still in charge. Whatever he says goes, but we're going to work with you. We love you guys. We want this to be one big unit. We need to be in sync together. And I think that some open communication and love for each other really brings everybody together, and it just makes it fun to be around each other. When it's fun to be around, that contagious positive energy it lights up the room. Huge. I mean, and people really start getting the best out of themselves, and it's fun to be around. And that's kind of the atmosphere that we're trying to bring. And I think that it just brings everybody so close.
No, we've all been around those types of environments. At some point when we were playing or coaching, you've been around that team that you just love to be around, right? And I think that's a really good point right there. Guy on your team hits a double and you feel like you hit a double. You're just all jacked up in the dugout. And I think that starts with, the things that, you guys are talking about right there, like, making time to get to know each other, loving each other, all that type of stuff. Like, for any players that, that might take a listen to this, like, it's not us too, and it's not us only, it's you guys as well too. Like, how you spend your time and how you make an effort off the field to those incoming guys that you might not know as well, or anybody returning that you haven't seen in a little bit, like, that goes a long, long, long way, And from a coaching standpoint, I love you're talking about, like, open communication, allowing these guys to feel like their voices are being heard. We do that as well too. We have our captains calls each week, and we vote on new captains each semester. We got captain for each class, freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, so they feel like they're, being represented in each class. But, just allowing them to feel like, they have a say in things is huge. Not that what they say is going to be the be all end all, type of deal, but, allowing them to know that, like, we're not closed-minded to anything else that's out there. Like, if you have something that could push our rock further, we want to do it. This is our team. You don't play for us, you play for the program. We're all pushing the program forward. And I think that's some really good stuff. We're getting close to about running out of time here. But I want to throw a quick curveball at you real fast that's unplanned here. There's been a lot of great stuff that's going on during this quarantine, a lot of good content that's out there. Real quick, give me one thing that you've kind of seen. It could be drill. It could be a talk that you've listened to that you feel has either benefited you as a player or can benefit your players when you kind of get back to campus. Bod, you got anything?
Yeah, I think that, I touched on it earlier. I can't tell you exactly one thing. I mean, I will say probably one of the most eye-opening and awesome things of this quarantine was the MJ documentary. Like, I watched that very religiously, and just like the competitiveness and like how they were in practice and how, not as much of the actual team, but how, Jordan was as a leader and all that kind of stuff, and how he made other players around him better, especially like even how many championships they've had. And this was like a big message I took to heart, where there were guys that did the gritty things that weren't Hall of Famers, that weren't top scorers, but they were irreplaceable. They had to do the dirty things. They had to, push certain guys in practice so they were successful. And those are guys that we all have in our program. Guys that do the little things, whether it's steal a bag, whether it's play good defense, whether it's, eat innings, whether it's, they're a tough matchup guy, but they have to be great at their craft in order for the team to be successful. And that I thought was awesome to hear. Guys like Steve Kerr saying he knew he had to be ready, where he wasn't the leading scorer, he wasn't this, but when Michael trusted him, he had to make the shot, and Michael had confidence in him and told him, hey, I believe it was maybe there was the 98 finals it was one of their last ones, and the best coach in basketball, Phil Jackson, was, MJ, you're taking the shot, and he goes, no, Steve Kerr's taking the shot. And Steve was like, if Michael says it, I have to do it. Sure enough, he hit the game-winning shot, but that's the best player in the world having confidence in a role player. That's like when we get up there. And I think that I'm going to segue this in because I've been wanting the story the whole podcast, but I think Mark can tell us about the national championship against the play at LSU and take us through that story, because that is exactly what happened in his situation when they beat LSU in the Super Regional.
We might get cut off, but Marks, give us what you got.
No, yeah. That the story in that is just, they tied it up going into the ninth, and then we were the home team, so we're bottom 9. I'm leading off. Coach Gilmore comes up to me and Pies, and he's like, Marks, you're going to get on first base here? And I'm like, yes, sir. Of course. And then I kind of look at him and Pies looks at him. He's like, and I'm going to bunt him over. And he goes, no, Marks, you're going to steal second base. I'm like, all right, I'm going to steal second. He's like, you're going to be safe. And then Pies said, I'm going to bunt him into third, and I'm going to bunt him into third, and we're going to score him. And he said, no. And he looked at Pies in his eyes, and he said, no, you're going to drive him in, and you're going to send us to Omaha. And you kind of just get chills, running around. But and then it comes true. You believe in it. And those are the things. But at the same time, everyone, like Ebot saying, we believed in ourselves, and we